Welcome to this week's St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting. The types of business that occur at these meetings include public hearings, official voting on actions by the Board of Commissioners, presentations by departments of the county, and recognition of service that makes our county great. As your elected representatives, the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners is committed to improving the lives of all our residents while preparing county government to meet the demands of the future. In order to do that, we need to share our thoughts and plans with you. More importantly, we need you to share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions with us. We encourage you to come and experience the process by attending any of these meetings. They occur every first and third Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. at the St. Clair County Administration Building at 200 Grand River Avenue in Port Huron.
I'd like to call to order the Board of Commissioners Human Services Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Commissioner McConnell.
Here.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Here.
Commissioner Bohm.
Here.
Commissioner Riley.
Here.
Commissioner Rushing.
Here.
Commissioner Graytop.
Here.
Commissioner Tamian.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, we have additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda. Gentlemen, does anybody have anything to change on the agenda this evening?
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now is the portion of our meeting where we give citizens an opportunity to address the commission. Are there any citizens out here who would like to address us tonight? Seems to be mostly staff, so I'll assume that they have nothing to say at this time, and we'll move on to updates. Does anybody have an update for the Human Services Committee? Conceptual initiatives, Mr. Administrator.
Nothing to see.
Old business. New business. Under new business, we have the request from the St. Clair County Library System for closings for this year. Allison, I was looking at that, and a couple of the dates are 2014. I assume that's an error.
Yes, sir.
But the day of the week and the day of the month are correct then.
Mr. Chairman, if we change those dates to 2015 on July 9th and July 25th, I'll make a motion we send it on to the full board.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Are there any other human service matters to be brought before the committee this evening? We have the St. Clair County Health Department points of interest for information only.
Chairman, I move to receive and file the points of interest.
Support. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll move that we receive and file packets.
I'll support that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn, sir.
Is there support?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, that's just a well-organized committee.
You did your homework.
Yeah. Yeah, he also, also told what he's got to do, so. We'll call to order the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners Judiciary Public Safety Committee with roll call, please.
Commissioner McConnell.
Here.
Commissioner Tamian.
Here.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Here.
Commissioner Bohm.
Here.
Commissioner Rushing.
Here.
Commissioner Graytop.
Here.
Commissioner Riley.
Here. Any additions, corrections, changes to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Support?
Moved and supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next, any citizens to be heard? Okay, moving on, updates. Conceptual initiatives. Old business. Under new business, item A, bulletproof vest grant application for final action.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we send the bulletproof vest grant application on to the full board.
This is for final
Oh, I'm
action.
sorry.
Final action.
Make a motion for final action.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported. Any discussion?
Just a
Right.
comment that it's a 50% match on it. And
He
the
has it.
sheriff
Right.
says he has it in his department budget to cover it, so.
He does.
He does. Any other discussion? Okay, we need roll call on that. Roll call, please.
Commissioner McConnell?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Tamian?
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann?
Yes.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing?
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop?
Yes.
Commissioner Riley?
Yes. Okay, item B, adoption of the St. Clair County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Mr. Chairman, this isn't scheduled for final action tonight, is it?
No.
Well,
it's not.
I would move that it be sent on to the full board.
Okay, do you have any comments, Mr. Freeland? Any questions for Mr. Freeland tonight?
I guess just a statement. I talked to him before, and we already have one in place. This can be revisions for it, and if you do have any, please review it, which Carl wants to do, and give Jeff a call, and he'll fill us in. But this is an update of current mitigation plan already in place.
Any other discussions on that? Okay, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, any other judiciary or public safety matters? Okay. Under information only, two things I'd like to mention. Last Friday, Port Huron Police Department had a 134th year birthday party, I'm going to call it. First time actually it's ever been done. It was put together by the Port Huron PD, Mike Reeves, of course, the chief. I attended that, and I got to admit, there was a lot of pictures from way back in the 60s plus before that. A lot of people that we won't go into ages, Mr. Greatop, but I recognized years ago when my brother was on the department. It was very, very well done by the city police department. I thought it was just excellent, and the amount of people there was outstanding. So, just for information. Second thing I want to mention to you commissioners is sponsor recognition on Thursday, the 14th at Alexander's at 5 p.m. for anybody that'd like to attend from the board. That's through Mr. Freeland's. Our emergency management breakfast is the 15th. And the night before, we do recognize the sponsors. So if you'd like to attend that, please do. Any other information? Okay, I'll take a motion to receive and file packets.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Moved and supported for adjournment. Adjourned.
4 minutes.
Your memories.
Here you go, Deb.
I'd like to call the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners Environmental and Public Works Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Commissioner McConnell?
Here.
Commissioner Tamian?
Here.
Commissioner Bone?
Here.
Commissioner Riley?
Here.
Commissioner Rushing?
Here.
Commissioner Greatop?
Here.
Commissioner Heidemann?
Here. The first item is an addition to the agenda, the light station water distribution system replacement. I would recommend that we amend the agenda and include that as new business item 7E.
I would make that motion.
Need a second?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Commissioner McConnell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Any citizens to be heard? Seeing none, Any updates from commissioners?
I got a quick one. I'm going to tag team this with Howard. Howard and I attended the governor's summit on recycling this past Tuesday over in Kalamazoo to listen and hear, you know, kind of some of the things that are coming down the pipeline. As many as we all know, we own the landfill. A lot of our municipalities, townships have recycling pickup as part of their trash. Didn't really, they didn't lay out specifics as far as monies and different incentives. That's kind of on a coming down the pipeline time frame. But really talked a lot about public-private partnerships. I'm really encouraging that, and really the biggest thing that we need to have a plan, so if these types of things come up, that we're in the best position to take advantage of it. So some pretty good information, just nothing concrete. I didn't come away from there with a specific action plan to bring back to the board to say, I think we need to do X, Y, Z. But we know this thing is definitely on the, in the works. Matt Williams is over there. He stayed for the other couple days of the conference. Got a chance to talk to a lot of the different vendors that were there. Got a chance to spend some time with the director of the DEQ. We talked to him a little bit, and pretty amazing at how DEQ knows about St. Clair County, and they know about the bioreactor very much so. So, Howard, you got anything you want to chime in?
Other than the governor's goal is to double recyclables, and right now we're operating about 15%, and he wants to take it up to 30%, and so which is fine. I think it's a worthwhile goal. The problem is the market for recyclables is, way down, and I would say the only one that has a viable market right now might be plastics, recycling the plastics and metals. But
yeah, real interesting. I learned more about recycling than I ever thought I would. They talked about contamination and how if you commingle certain plastics have certain compositions. They just can't be mingled with others. When like pop, water bottles can't be commingled with milk crates, cartons, because they're made out of different stuff. And it was like I said, I learned a lot more about recycling than I thought I would, and just the positioning where we, future moving forward. So
the other thing, and you found it, and that was the flyer that was put out by Kent County, which gave excellent information to all constituents in their county how to handle recycling.
Yeah, I've got a copy of it.
What to do, what not to do, and how to prepare it to be recycled. Very easy to read and yet very thorough.
Yeah, Kent County also has their own municipal landfill, and probably the piece that I did get from them is very similar to like the Parks and Rec. They do quarterly mailings. I know the library, you have your mailings. This was a piece that they actually mail on a quarterly basis that has all the different municipalities listed, pickup times, drop-off locations, and so on and so forth. Very, very informative. And I was going to have Matt, when he got back, to talk. That may be something that we could seriously take a look at on the board and do a information piece like that.
Yeah, just back when you're talking about plastics, and you met my wife, she's very much of a health thing, but if you look at any plastic containers, there's an emblem on it, and it'll tell you, like you're saying, you can't commingle them because some of them have carcinogens in them, and that's why they have different. Some are okay for food and some aren't, but you just can't mix and match them, because then they get into recyclables and you can't reuse the carcinogens in like water bottles.
Yeah. Yep. Bill?
Howard, you had mentioned the governor wants to go from 15% to 30% recyclables. What does he mean by that? I mean, how do you determine 30% recyclables? You're talking about taking your trash and 30% of your trash has to go to recycling and 70% goes to landfill? I mean, is that where how do you come up with 30 or 15%?
I think they're talking about goals set on terms of mass waste streams, and
they had a company that came in and did a statewide study as far as the trash. They know what the numbers are as far as trash produced, amount of tonnage that goes. And for example, the city of Port Huron, I think they're at 7% or so. City of Port Huron tracks their portion of their recycling. Some of the other municipalities, actually the majority of them don't here in St. Clair County, but there's some different systems in place. Some of these municipalities really do a very concerted effort. Some of the townships, amazing.
I know that in mid-Michigan, there's a recycling facility in Saginaw, and Midland and Bay City participate in that, and they send all their recyclables to one facility itself, so that it promotes better use of the recycled materials.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you. Any conceptual initiatives? None? No old business. We go to new business. The first one is the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund acquisition grant contracts. We have 2 contracts there.
Should we separate those into 2 votes, Mr. Chairman?
That's a good question. I don't. What do you think? We should? Okay, I'm getting a heads up there from our Director of Parks and Rec that we need to separate them. Would you like to make a motion? We're going to be sending these on to the full board.
I think we could probably adopt a motion to send them both to the full board, but when it gets to the full board, vote separately on it. And so I would move that we send both of these acquisition grant contracts to the full board meeting this month.
With separate voting at the regular board meeting.
Yes.
I support that.
Okay. It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion?
I don't know if I could, Howard. This has to do with the Blue Water River Walk Phase 2 contract from the Bouvier Bay NRTF grant contract. Those 2 you're referencing?
Yes.
Those are the 2.
Just so we got them on record. And, yeah. Mark's saying yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're hoping those people down south get the message.
They say yes as well.
Yeah, we hope they say yes. Yeah. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The 2015 survey and remonumentation grant agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I move that this agreement be sent on to the full board. Support.
It's been moved and supported. This is an annual sort of thing that we do for the thing. Yes, Mr. Graytop.
If I'm reading this correctly, we're almost half done with all of the marks that we need to put in place, and as long as the grant continues, we'll have enough to do all of them. Is that what I'm reading?
I think, if I remember correctly, this is fully refunded by way of the state.
Right.
So
So we're about half done with it now.
Yeah.
We got 47, 49% that I see in there? That we're, okay. And we just do a certain amount every year, depends on how much money we have? Correct. All right, thank you.
we'll get through it someday. I think we've been doing
Would
this.
you need the amounts written on or stated tonight or not? I see you have 5 years listed.
What is the amount?
I believe it's $98,584 for 2015. 2014, it was $96,976.
Okay. I think all we need is the 2015.
Correct.
Okay, we can include that if the motion, maker of the motion is agreeable.
Yes.
Mr. Graytop? He is agreeable. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, the maintenance equipment trailer purchase. Okay. This is a super heavy-duty one, too.
Yes, we are looking to replace our trailer to move our backhoe and heavy equipment. The last time around, we went with a powder coat, inexpensive powder-coated trailer, and is basically rusting out, and we're to the point where, with it being a road trailer, no welder will touch it, knowing that it's going to go back on the road, so we need to replace it. So we solicited these proposals. Staff recommendation is to purchase the Trail King. That is not the least expensive, but it is the one that has the longest expected life expectancy. And we would like to learn from our last go-around that maybe not the least expensive trailer is the right trailer.
Okay. What is the price on that trailer?
$13,461.
Are we buying that through the Michigan purchase?
No, these are solicited prices, proposals from the companies. One of them offered a joint powers, a national joint powers agreement, but the other ones were just, I don't know if there's not enough sales that they ever had a Michigan purchasing contract.
How many axles on this? Is it 3 axles?
2.
2 axles? What's the capacity?
I do not know that.
Because you're going to haul a backhoe on it.
It's a
Yeah,
tandem
that
dually.
backhoe is our biggest piece of equipment.
Tandem dually.
Right. I'm going to assume about 10 ton then, 20,000.
I can get back with you. I don't know the answer to that.
Do you have the number on it? Is it TK20? That's 20,000. I have the same trailer.
Okay. You have the same brand?
Same brand, Trail King.
Happy with it?
Do you want to
Great
sell it?
trailer.
Do you want to sell it?
You want
No, I didn't.
You want to donate it?
I think I start nice.
Just take it and use it, and he'll get it back when he needs it.
Rushing at a loss for words. Don't take my trailer. Yeah, do not take my trailers.
Okay, I would entertain a motion that we recommend purchasing the Trail King for $13,461.
I'll make a motion to send this to the full board.
To send it to the full board.
I'll support it.
And it's supported. We had 2 supports there. Pick.
Withdraw mine.
Okay. Any discussion? Any more discussion or
Just that
questions?
it's a very good trailer, easy to load and unload, and very solid trailer.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The Goodall's concrete work.
In your packet is a bid tabulation of 3 proposals that were received for various concrete replacement. First is under the pavilion of under the open pavilion. That's probably one of the oldest structures left at Goodall's County Park. It's the building that sits behind the Quonset hut. The floor was poured years ago in various phases, and it's breaking up pretty significantly, and there's a lot of trip hazards on it. The same goes for the concession stand. The covered porch in front of the concession stand next to the community building is heaved and broken up, and again, we need, for safety reasons, is to replace the cement so we don't have trip hazards. And the third item is we have a manure bunker out there that's always had been set on soil, and if it's wet and you got an animal show, it becomes a muddy mess, and it's very hard for the contractor to come in and be able to efficiently get all the manure out of the bunker without taking a bunch of topsoil soil with it. So it's been on our wish list for many years to just get that cemented, and so it's easier to remove manure from the bunker. So the low bidder on the 3 combined projects is Nolan Construction of Wales Township for $16,050. Staff recommendation is to go with the low bidder.
And they've done work for the county before?
Yes, they've done a couple projects, and I think they did the garage expansion behind the library. I think that was Nolan Construction.
I'll make a motion, we send it to the full board.
Support.
Do we have a second? Supported by Commissioner Riley. Any other questions for Mark or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, on to the light station replacement of the water lines.
Appreciate this being added to the agenda tonight. I'll give a brief overview. Right now, there's an exhibit Howard might want to pass down the line. At the end of March, we got a call from the city of Port Huron that their metering system was showing a significant amount of water being used at the light station that was basically being unused at the time. We quickly surveyed the buildings and determined that there was no plumbing issues and there were no leaks, and that the city re-verified that their meter was accurately recording water going through the system. We contracted with a leak detection company to come out and try to determine where the water was going. Unfortunately, the site is heavy sandy soil, so unlike most clay soils, if you have an underground water leak, it comes to the surface and you know where the problem is. In this case, there was no surface water to give us a clue. The company identified 2 probable areas. We hired a contractor to come in and dig up those areas, found the leaks, repaired them, and unfortunately, when they turned the meter back on, it kept spinning like it. So it's a galvanized steel water distribution system, and it's, at this point, the pragmatic thing to do is just to replace the whole thing. I think the system was started in the 1940s with the galvanized steel and been cobbled together various places and various times over the years. So we're in a position where we just need to do something. We can't afford $1,000 a month for sewer and water charges when we aren't even using the property actively. So we have aggressively, over the last week, solicited proposals from about a dozen companies. 5 submitted various pieces and parts. I understand that you have, that'd be page 2 of your packet showing who bid on what. Option 1 would be to install copper water lines with an open cut trenching system. Option B would be to use polyethylene water lines and bore them in with minimal digging. The third option is to use polyethylene water lines but do an open cut. And then option D is, while they're out there, we have a couple water hydrants that we, you know, if we're going to be updating the system, we might as well put a couple water hydrants in. It's my recommendation, even though it's a more expensive option, is to go with the copper pipe for the long-term durability. I've heard from some, Tim Ward, particularly when we discussed it the other night, indicated that he had a couple neighbors in the city of Port Huron that their water lines froze with plastic pipe and they were SOL. Whereas people that had copper pipes, they could actually put a welder's rig on it and actually thaw out the line in the winter. So it is a more expensive option. I think it's the better long-term investment in the property to go ahead and install copper pipes. The low bidder was Railette Construction of Birchville for option A. On option D, they were $200 more than the low bidder, but in the interest of having just one contractor on the site digging, my recommendation is award option A and D to Railette for $42,482.80. $42,482.80. It's on the bottom of the recommendation memo.
Chairman?
Yes.
Mark, a couple of questions for you. One, you said you had a local plumber come out and dig it up and do 2 repairs on the pipe?
And actually,
it wasn't any of these bidders here?
Yes, it was one of the bidders. It was Countryside Plumbing was the one that.
Okay, and they dug it up and they fixed it?
They fixed the leaks they found.
It's A.
They charged us for that?
Yeah, that's separate from this.
I guess my question is, what plumber would dig up a pipe like this that you can't even see through and fix it?
The hope was to just get a Band-Aid on this and get it open for the season. That was all they were bid to do.
I mean,
we knew the next step was going to be a lot more expensive.
I can't even see light through this thing, and yet I just, Okay,
Now, the contractor was doing what he was contracted to do, go in, find the leaks in certain locations, fix the leaks.
how much do we have tied up in that, in those repairs?
It was under 5,000,
Under 5,000?
yeah.
How?
That
Could
was
you
for
ask that
going
question?
after a leak, and we had a suspicious water hydrant, and they ran a
I guess
line that,
where I'm having a hard time is a plumber fixing that pipe. I mean, it seemed to me he would have said, this pipe's not fixable. I mean, you can't even see light through there. You can't see anything through there. Well, okay, we can talk about that more if you
we
want.
were looking for a Band-Aid to get the season open and then bid out replacement in the fall.
Okay.
Obviously, we found out that that was not gonna be an option,
That was Countryside?
yeah.
Okay. The other question I had was on option B, on polyethylene. Voting for body construction is at 68,000, and the next guy is at 29,000 for the same project?
Yep. Oftentimes, a contractor will submit a bid for you as a courtesy, and if they got a lot of things, and we told them it was a time-sensitive thing and they had to get in. I know Body's got several big jobs going on, and if they were gonna pursue it, they were gonna have to do extra measures. So sometimes they'll, as a favor, they'll throw in a bid and not be competitive. The good news is that we had Briolette and Kerrigan, who were smaller, right-sized companies to do this job, pretty consistent with each other.
Commissioner Riley?
I will agree, and I know this for a fact, that not only Port Huron, a lot of the cities had frozen lines this year that they hadn't had in a long time because of wasn't in the yards where we had snow, but out the streets. I agree with that. But what you said about the I'm going to call it the plastic lines, yes, you're hooked on that, and there's a lot of people that had those type of lines. The city runs up to the curb box, and from the curb box in, if you ran plastic, you're out of luck. And there's just no thawing it with the Weller style. So he's right on that area. I do question the same as Commissioner Greatop on repairs of that, or not looking at it and saying, you know what, I mean, this thing shouldn't have been repaired. I mean, I personally did a lot of that type of work years ago, and I certainly wouldn't put one back together like that and say turn it on, even if water flowed through it. I mean, you got a size of a pinhole in that thing, and that one piece of pipe there, so I have to agree with that. I don't think that was proper.
Yeah. Commissioner?
I agree with the comments that have been made, and as someone who's been involved in installing a lot of pipes in a lot of cities, I've always been a copper iron advocate, but I've learned that over the last few years that the plastic products have been engineered, and in many applications they're superior. Have we had an engineer look at this or give you any advice about?
No, this is just get out and get contractors who do the work and give us a proposal. So no, I don't have a specific recommendation from a civil engineer on which way to go.
I'm just wondering before, or you're looking for final approval tonight then, aren't you?
Yeah, the hope, the light station opened for the season last weekend, and we're operating on a porta-john and no water.
What's, Commissioner Rushing?
I got a couple things. One, with the contractor that repaired it, you needed to have it in service, so I'm not going to fault the contractor. He was paid to do a job, get it in service so it could be open. And you're here now because you need to get it repaired because of what you found from his actions when he actually made the repairs. So I think that's how you got to where we're at. In a previous life, I've done a lot of things, drilled water wells. You will not find, I believe, a single well driller that is using anything but plastic currently. The new polypropylenes are superior, in my opinion, to copper. You also have an issue with copper, and anytime you get it galvanized, you're going to have a dielectric union in there because you're going to get some a chemical reaction that happens with the minerals inside the water. It's just going to happen. Anytime that's going to meet steel, you're going to have an issue happen with those unions unless you have copper 100% throughout. You don't list the size of the copper, but you do list 2 inches, if I'm reading this correct, 2 inches for the water line and the plastic, and you're going to have 1 inch service. So that'll give you the volume of water. You're not listing, I don't believe you're going to be using 2-inch copper for the price you have there. So
Yes, it was specifically 2-inch copper.
Okay, because that's, copper is very expensive.
Oh, yeah, especially the 2-inch compared to the price
Right.
for the 1-inch.
And then I believe you're going to be using probably K rather
Yeah.
than L.
Yeah.
And that's the thickness of the wall and the actual copper. And I know you want final action tonight. I can't, I've been trying to think, who's our building guy for the county? Okay. I think it'd be, and I know you want final action, but I think it'd be worthy of getting an expert opinion on plastic or copper, because I'm under the opinion that plastic is better. The new stuff will swell. I mean, it won't explode. It'll just keep getting bigger. And the new plastics are much better than they used to be. You go to all the new lines in the water, new home building, I believe it's all the new polypropylene.
Can you really wait 2 more weeks, though? I mean, I can live with copper or plastic. I guess if we gave him the direction to maybe ask Ron Marsh or something, you know, ask one of our people that are an expert, make the call on it and go with it. You know, I don't want to wait 2 weeks to have this come back before this board. Gary, any thoughts?
What you might want to do is approve it for final action, give Mark the option based upon selecting whichever is the best, based upon his evaluation, and I would call the city engineering department, and I bet they'll tell you exactly.
Yeah.
If you can give me a final approval and not to exceed number, which we know the number for copper is high, so if we go any kind of poly pipe, we'll be under that, so.
Yeah,
It'll also be cheap repair, potential cheaper repair costs.
Commissioner Graytop.
If you decide to go with the plastic piping, would you do the boring or would you do the open cut? Does that make a difference? I mean, the price, obviously, you're saving 10 grand by going open cut. If I'm reading this correct.
Right, and we had the sewer line replacement we did earlier in the year. We're gonna have to have a landscaper on the site doing, so I don't think, we're gonna be restoring turf on the property anyway, so and when you do the boring, you're still digging holes to bore from one point to the next anyway, so if we're gonna save money, yeah, I think
we're gonna save money, we can get it all the way down to 16.5, but then we have Countryside who did the repair on the pipe with, maybe shouldn't.
The 5.
Yeah, if you go open cut, it would be Countryside Plumbing for the option C and D on the,
Go ahead, Commissioner Tom.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorized our Parks and Recreation Director to select one of these contractors and that the amount not exceed the $42,500 listed in his report.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner
Is that final action?
Connell.
Yes, final action.
I just have one comment, and you actually may know the answer to this. You know, the city did the sewer separation throughout the city. Did they put in plastic water lines throughout the city?
I do not know. I do not know. I know there are cities that are putting in, I know there's plastic sewer line.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's, I know it's being used in some cities. I've been away from it for 10 years, so I know that in the last 10 years of my career, things were changing rapidly, like Commissioner Rushton was talking about. Those new materials are getting better.
I think part of the problem is with plastic. I think plastic, as Dave said, is great. Part of the problem with the plastic is when you put a welder onto it to get the ice out of it if it freezes over. Putting it on plastic or putting it on copper is a tremendous difference. And I think there is an upgrade, and not a question, but you know, that's what we've got to be careful. I guess the city engineer will tell him what he should do. That would be my opinion.
I'm thinking though, for 16,000, you could blow the whole thing up and put down another one and still save money.
Yeah, but I'd leave it up to, I'd get the opinion of the expert, which would be the city engineer, to get their opinion to see what they say. I agree with that.
Is this open during the times of year when the frost would get deep enough to freeze this light station?
it's not used as much, obviously in the winter.
But it is open and running, water's running at
Yes.
a time when the frost is deep in the ground?
Yeah. One of the areas we suspect as frost goes deeper where you plow a parking area, we believe the main line which comes into under a parking area one of the things we're going to do, no matter what material we use, is reroute that so that it's no longer under the parking lot. So it's under snow cover so that it would be more immune from the frost.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, you can pound that frost down.
Yeah.
Any other discussion questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you take the roll?
Commissioner McConnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian,
Yes.
Commissioner Bohm, Commissioner Riley,
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing,
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, will you please let us know what you find on that?
Yes, I'll send you an email.
Just send it out, broadcast an email out, just let us know which inside, what you found.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Smiths Creek Landfill Activities Report. I would entertain a motion to receive and file that report.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported by Commissioners Rushing and,
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
This is a format that we've been using for quite a long time.
Right.
But most recently, we have been implementing, well, we implemented a rate increase. And one thing that I would be interested in having our administrator look at is whether with the regular landfill report, if we can have an update on where we are with our revenues versus our expenditures.
Sounds
Because
reasonable.
That's something I think we need to monitor. It was a sensitive issue with our customers in the past year.
And if I can jump in here, actually right now, Mr. Williams and Ms. Hepting are working on a report to give to the board. Our plan right now is to bring it to the full board meeting in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So they've been working on, say, a quarterly report to let you know how things are going out there.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, good catch there. Any other environmental or public works matters?
I don't believe you
Commissioner
took
Rhodes.
the vote. We've got the motion and a second. I don't think we took the vote on it.
Oh, to receive and file. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Moving on to the next item, any other environmental or public works matters? Seeing none, information only. We have the Park and Rec Commission's financial documents, and we also have the Community Foundation grant for the National Water Trail.
I move these items to be received and filed.
Support?
Moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
I move we receive and file the packets.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Motion to adjourn, sir.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
At this time, I'd like to call the Ways and Means Committee to order. We have a roll call, please.
Commissioner McConnell,
Here.
Commissioner Tamian,
Here.
Commissioner Heidemann,
Here.
Commissioner Bohm,
Here.
Commissioner Riley,
Here.
Commissioner Graytop,
Here.
Commissioner Rushing.
Here. Okay, we're moving on to item 2. We have additions, deletion, changes to the agenda. We have a revised with the Freedom of Information Act policy revisions. I'd like to have that moved down to new business 7F.
I'll make that motion, sir.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. This time, I'd like to move on to citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens to be heard? Seeing none, we'll move on to updates. Do we have any updates? Seeing none. Conceptual initiatives. We have none. Also, we have no old business. We'll move on to 7A, library request, manning table change, and it has been requested that this is for final action tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we give final approval to the library request of the manning table change.
Support?
Any discussion? I don't believe we need a roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Moving on to 7B, 2015 General Fund and Child Care Fund Budget Adjustments. I have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed these proposed adjustments, and I move that they be forwarded to the full board for action later this month.
Support?
Any discussion? I myself, talked to Carrie prior to, and this is just a matter of housekeeping. And if you do have any questions, he is here to ask. Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Moving on to 7C, Fund Balance Policy Revisions.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we forward the fund balance policy revisions to the full board. I've had an opportunity to review those. I've talked with Carrie about them as well, and I support them. I think it's really good business for the county.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Moving on to 7D, Cost Allocation Plan Agreement with MGT of America. Can I have a motion?
I move that this item be forwarded to the full board for final action.
Support.
Any other discussion?
Just a quick one. When's the last time that we've actually done one of these? We do them every 3 years? Somewhere?
Every year we do a cost plan, but we bid it out every 3 years.
Is that what? Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Moving on to 7E, Website Development Service Agreement, E7 Solutions, LLC. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we forward it on to the full board, but I do have a couple questions.
I'll make a second on that so that you can have your questions, sir.
Okay, we do have Tiffany here. If you'd come up, please.
I've had some email correspondence with Tiffany, and maybe you could enlighten all of us, Tiffany.
Sure. So in December of 2014, our web developer left the county, moved on to other employment. He had been with us about 10 years, and he was responsible for all website maintenance for the county, as well as some home internally developed applications that we had developed for the county specifically. He was responsible for those as well. With his departure, I had some concerns whether we would be able to adequately fill this position, and also thought it might make a little bit more sense to use a company so that we would have more than just one person doing this type of work. So we put a proposal out for RFQ. We had about 12 respondents to our proposal, and from there we narrowed down the respondents to about 4. We based our criteria of the companies that we looked at. We looked at the size of the company. We were looking for something, like I said, a little bit larger, some company that could cover if someone was off sick and that type of thing. We were looking for a reasonable location, as well as, you know, some attention to detail in their bid response, some expertise and experience that we needed. And from there we interviewed, checked references, and narrowed down to the company we've selected. So my plan is that we will do the day-to-day maintenance of our website internally using existing staff. That'll equal about 8 to 9 hours a week for just day-to-day maintenance. And this company will be used for more advanced expertise, programming, software development, and that type of thing. The cost will be the same or less of what we previously had paid our web developer for his salary and benefits package. So there will be no change or impact to the budget.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions for him?
Will you be able to get the service by going to a company that we had before? In other words, if you had an in-house person, you had an issue, you could go to them, take care of it immediately. The company will be doing the same thing. Are they available 24/7 if you need them?
Yes. That was one of the things. We actually went to their office and kind of looked at how their how their culture was in their office and how they maintained projects and how they communicated with their customers. And one of the things that we really liked about E7 is they actually have an online system. It's essentially, it's kind of like our help desk, but a little bit more advanced than that. But we can actually log on to their system, see the status of our project, see who's assigned to it internally in their company, who the point of contact is for the county. We can make changes to that type of information if we want. And yes, they are available to us. They understand that we have just a handful of applications that are high priority 24/7, and they are available to respond to those types of applications as needed. In addition to that, they have a very extensive testing process that they use for development. So we actually anticipate that the stability and performance of our applications will improve, and we probably won't have to call them after hours as much as perhaps what we may have with an internal person.
They're in Auburn Hills?
Yes.
I guess I can ask Gary on this one, and you. Is there an out clause here? Let's say in 6 months we just see that they're unsuitable for the county. And what would be the cost to the county?
This is essentially a professional services contract, so they bill us as we incur the work. So we can get out anytime if we're not, and we've been clear with them that we're going to start with one project. We're going to see how they do with that project. We're going to build a relationship, understand each other's communication style. If it doesn't go well, if we're not happy, we can move on.
That's right.
Okay. Is there any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Moving on to 7F, Freedom of Information Act policy revisions. Need a motion?
The motion, we send it on to the full board.
Have a second?
Support.
And Bill, if you'd give us just a brief rundown while we're doing this.
Actually, Chris.
Actually, the expert is sitting to my left.
Okay.
So. Chris?
Last December, the state passed a public act revising the Freedom of Information Act, and as a result, our policy needs to be revised to meet all of the requirements of the new act.
Do you have any other questions on it? Just an update of our current policy for the Freedom of Information Act, and I believe every municipality is going to have to go through this.
This is just to make it conform to the state law.
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Okay, at this time, do you have any other Ways and Means Matters?
I have some stuff here for you, and I'm actually going to tag team this with Dan Casey. Dan, you want to come on up? I gave everybody the last agenda packet from our Blue Meets Green, our Leadership Council meeting that was held on April 27th. Many of you are aware of the Blue Meets Green process that we go through, which essentially is a stakeholder, roughly 80 people meet on a year to year and a half basis. We submit local projects and regional projects. They get ranked out according to that, and they go through the process of getting, I guess, vetted by everybody to score which different things that the different individuals see as priorities in the area. Recently, if you look at this other blue sheet here too, the colored sheet there's really the mission statement of the Blue Meets Green. You can read through that. I'm not going to get into that, but people, place, prosperity is the the underlying theme of it. But the big thing is really ranking different things for Blue Meets Green. Doesn't do projects, it identifies things, and then really we identify who is going to work on those. Now, there's different things that have made the list. We've done this process 2 different times and have scored out different projects. For example, in the first go-around, the development of the bioreactor was a priority for them. Expansion of the airport. These are some things that were county initiatives that we are currently in the process of and currently underway. Okay. So we just had our recent meeting on the 27th. These were some of the others that were some different things that were left over from the first go-around, and we recently had a meeting where we scored out another list of priorities. Then we have champions for each one of these that goes in and talks about, and you'll see in the little packet on each one, which gives a brief description, and the regional impact. Does it create jobs, potential for new tax base, so on and so forth. So these were the different things that came to the forefront. And this has then the list ranked by priority. So really this, for me personally, with the county and different cities and stuff, really becomes somewhat of our how-to list, the different things that we work on, you know, as far as lend resources too. Dan, you want to chime in a little bit on it? I will say the Art Van building, we've talked about it, we brought it before the group. I asked the group and I had everybody ask, you know, a lot of times these questions you ask, does this make sense? Does it make sense? Is this something that's a good project, bad project? If it's thumbs down, we don't work on it. If it's thumbs up, we move forward. Bill Graytop was there. Out of 25 of the people at this particular meeting, I've got 23 responses from yes to continue to move forward, and I've got 2 responses no, not to. So if the 23 people in that room, you know, say, then we're going to continue down that process. Dan, I'm going to let you chime in a little bit too.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Bohm. One thing I wanted to add is that this is the 3rd iteration of the countywide strategic plan, and it has sort of changed course over from the first phase to the second, and then now the 3rd phase. The second and third phases were essentially the same, where we were focused more on projects. One thing I want to point out, though, is that we have developed, by working with our local communities across the county, we've developed both regional projects and local priority projects within communities. Not all of our communities submitted projects or their priorities to us, but they had the opportunity to. And so from that, we have an understanding of what is important to those communities in the county, and there are other ways that we should be able to assist them in the future. So we haven't ignored the fact that there are local priorities within those communities. But what we were trying to do is identify projects that would have a significant, or at least the potential for a significant economic impact at the countywide level. And so when you look at the projects on the list, both the existing and the new projects, they all meet those criteria. Secondly, the Economic Development Alliance completed a 5-year strategic plan just a couple of months ago, and we were cognizant of the fact that we were going to be going through this process. So we've incorporated all of these projects and many others into our plan. In addition, we combined our existing metrics with the metrics that were created for Blue Meets Green. So we now have a metric system of about 50 different metric points that we track annually in terms of the results of both Blue Meets Green as well as the EDA and the county in general. So I wanted to just throw that out there as an overview, and then I can take any questions you might have on any of the individual projects.
Talk a lot about it. I know the commissioners are well aware of it, well aware of the planning that we do for this. And really what it comes down to is just a collaboration amongst all the groups. It's been very good to get all the stakeholders to sit down and go through these things. So I don't know if anybody wants to.
Oh, just that when you sit in this room and you listen to these people talk about these projects, there's an excitement in the air. Everybody is there because they want to see these things succeed and get behind them and make them happen. It takes sometimes bringing the right parties together. In particular, I was there to present on the Marine City Hotel project that's going on down there and presented their side of things. And when you do that and everybody around there has questions for you and you answer those questions and you talk about that project, you can see the excitement that's in the room on people that understand and know what these projects are all about and the kind of economic development that you'll say may come from a project like this. In a small town like Marine City, and I'm just focusing on that one because I know that one very well, when you look at a project like that in Marine City, and we've had several meetings on this where we brought in 8 or 9 or 10 different players to the table to sit down and to discuss this stuff, and it keeps moving around and the excitement stays there. You know you've got a project that's worth doing. And when you look at one like this that is a brick and mortar type of a project that gets done, and it's done within a year or two, and you move off of that project and you move on to the next project then. So it's nice to see these types of projects that you can get done at places like this. The economic development that you see that will come out of that is, you probably can't measure it, especially in a small town like Marine City. We just had another meeting today with the Community Foundation about something similar to this, and we're talking about measuring the social impact that you have in communities as well as the economic impact. And you take a place like Marine City and you put a hotel in there and you develop it and you add in 20 or 30 or 40 employees, whatever that might take to put this thing together, what that will do for the town, the draw that will come to the town, the other businesses that will form because this hotel is there, the other business that will be there because it serves the south end of the county where we don't have something like that. This is the, you know, if you hear some excitement in my voice, it's because there is some there. And these types of projects that come together like this really create the excitement. This thing is rolling right now, and it's going to continue to roll. Jeff, you want to?
Yeah, I just want to chime in. You look at a Marine City Hotel, you would say, well, that's a local project. But when you get into this county, and I can tell you, especially with the St. Clair Inn being closed right now, when you bring people in for business, there is not a hotel. The Blue Water Inn is the closest hotel in St. Clair Township or Chesterfield, okay? There's a couple places, I'm not going to mention names, I don't know if you'd put anybody down there, but to my point being, when you bring people in to put them somewhere, that is so important to have a decent product in the south end, and it doesn't exist today. So you could say, yes, you know, how come it's Marine City, it's local, but not when you factor in that other need to serve something at that greater. So that's kind of the first vetting piece of it that it goes through. Is it a local, is it regional, the significance of it? Now, you know, would you say that another hotel, perhaps if in Port Huron, if was going in, does that have the impact? I mean, you have other choices in the market here if somebody comes to stay. You don't have any choices down there in that. So Marine, that's a great example of a local slash, you know.
It is too, and it's a perfect example to look at people that are willing to invest in their community. The people behind this have already invested $1 million in this community with a couple of theaters. They're willing to put up another $1 million of their own money. Their bank is willing to put up another $1 million of their own money, and they need some funding beyond that point. And when we sit down at the table like that with Dan and Jeff and all the other players that come to the table, and the state of Michigan is there, and we're looking at all the options where they can get more money, I believe this thing is rolling to the point that they need an additional $1 million, and I think a lot of that money is already lined up. And Blue Meets Green being an initiative behind that really helps push that thing out there and make it happen. Blue Meets Green, I don't know if you guys have been to any of the meetings, but there's some people at that meeting that carry a fair amount of weight in this town with the way they do things and the weight that they carry, the knowledge that they carry, the connections that they have, that they don't build a building before they sure do help get things moving. If I'm saying that correctly.
I think from your perspective too, Dan, when you sit with the MEDC and some of the federal, I mean, very first question, we've sat with Nate a million times, he knows us, Nate, the MEDC rep. Where's it in your plan? If you're going through and you're going to the state of Michigan asking for assistance or some of these federal agencies, if you do not have a plan in place and these things are not identified in your plan, your ability to get them funded are a whole lot more tougher.
You know, one other point I think that we should make is that this is not the list of the only things that will be worked on in the county, and there's still room for other projects to surface and be worked on. They may not be on our current ranking, but that doesn't mean that we're not all going to come together and provide support for those projects. A good example would be the Citadel project in Port Huron, which when we developed phase 2, no one even talked about that or suggested that as a potential project, but it surfaced at the end of phase 2, and just as we were beginning to develop phase 3. That project got ranked along with everything else. It didn't rank high enough to make this list, but the project's still happening. The building is going to be purchased. We've got some theater groups that are going to occupy it. We've got some lofts that are going to be built in it. So it's still going to be a successful project, and Blue Meets Green is still behind it. So in the future, if a project comes up in one of the other communities and they would like us to pull together around it, rally around it with our collaborative partners, and we are going to do that.
Yeah, the recent one, the Kimball Corporate Center, when you look at that, that goes back to, we had a lot of discussion on that. There are no large 300-plus acre tracts of land. If the next ZF plant came along today and wanted to locate in St. Clair County, it's not coming because we don't have anywhere to put it, bottom line. So I know you're working with Kimball right now on doing some different things out there, but the significance of identifying that's a need, and everybody in that room then looks at that, and that's scored out, you know, the number one, because they understand. So we, you know, from my perspective, we need to be very proactive with these types of things. If we understand that if there's a need, we're not filling that need, we've got to work to try to assist and do whatever that we can.
Well, actually, there's about 300 acres right in Emmett and Riley Townships, right there at the granary. It's got rail, water. A few years ago when Toyota was interested in coming here, but there is availability there. They have the new
Water, sewer, redundant power, all the above. I don't believe you. I'm just saying.
They have the new system, they have the power, and they got the rail there. But
Yeah, we're aware of that site. However, I think we need to do a better job of studying it. You didn't mention sewer, for example, and that's going to probably be essential for a large project. Okay, so that's, I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm just saying those are the kinds of things that we have to study.
well, any location will require additional infrastructure.
Yeah. And actually, I really like that site because it's right on 69. It's got an interchange.
M19 also.
Yep, M19. I mean, there's a lot of potential there.
I'll bring up one other thing is the Amtrak station with CN Railroad and with the hotel business and our new convention center. If you've been at the current Amtrak station, it's a little full. Yeah, it's parking and everything else. If this gets to the new location, it would assist people coming into the county also for Amtrak. Do we have any other discussion? Any other Ways and Means Matters? Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, we'll move on to number 9. I'll entertain a motion to file the Okra District from the City of Port Huron. That has to do with the Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act.
Support. I'll make that motion.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Can I have a motion to receive and file packets?
So moved.
Support.
Have support. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a question.
Motion passed. We are adjourned.
We hope you enjoyed this week's St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting. Your St. Clair County Commissioners broadcast these meetings on Comcast Local Access Channel 12 every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. If you have any questions on any part of this program, please feel free to contact your St. Clair County Board of Commissioners or staff. You can find their contact information, the meeting agenda, and videos of the meetings at www.stclaircounty.org.